In this course and in future grades, we're going to use a online graphing tool called Desmos quite a bit. It's a really useful tool. It helps us see what graphs of relationships look like simply from typing them in. So this is just a quick demonstration of how to use Desmos, and then we will, then you'll have this at your fingertips as a tool. So part A, graph using Desmos. It's a free online graphing calculator. Let's see, I've got it right here on my iPad. I've got it as an app, but you can also just type in Desmos in your web browser, and you can have an online version of it. But it looks like this. It's got a place on the left where you can type in an equation. It's got a grid on the right. I can hide various things. I can adjust things. I'll get into that in a bit. But anyway, if you're doing it online, then you'll go to the website, www.desmos.com. In fact, if I click on that, does that open it? No, I guess not. Not a hot link in my thing. But anyway, you type that in, you're good to go. And then you'll have a start graphing option. I didn't have that on mine because I've got the app. But you poke around with it a little bit. It's pretty self-explanatory. Left-hand blue box, enter the equation for the linear relation. Remember that fraction bar means divide. So if I want to do y equals 3/5 x plus 2, let me go back to the graph. And so I can type in y equals 3. And I'm going to go 3 divided by, that's what that last instruction was saying. So I'm going to hit the divide button, and it turns into a fraction. So 3/5. And then I have to move over to get the x so it's not in the denominator. In other words, see how it says 3/5 and the cursor's still in the bottom in the denominator? If I hit x right now, that x ends up in the denominator, and I get something kind of funky going on here with this graph that's got these two curved lines. This is actually called a reciprocal graph, but we're not doing that in grade 9, not even in grade 10. That's grade 11 stuff. But anyway, we don't want that. And the reason it looks like that is because that x is on the bottom. So I can backspace. In the bottom right, you'll notice there's an arrow with an x in it. So if I backspace, get rid of that. And you'll notice right above that, that's my delete button, by the way. Right above the delete button and below the one that says functions, there's arrows left or right. So I can cursor over, and you notice that the cursor is now not in the denominator. If I hit x now, then it looks linear, which is what I was expecting. I forgot what my y-intercept was supposed to be. +2. Okay, so my y-intercept is +2. You'll notice how right now, before I do the +2, it's graphing it as I go along. It's graphing a line that's got a y-intercept of 0 because I haven't added my y-intercept in there yet. But if I add +2, then it moves everything up. And just like that, I'll have a graph. So play around, learn some of the features like hide and reopen the keypad, zoom in, then back to default, click on points on the line, click on the x and y intercepts. Well, let's do all those things right now. So I can hide the keypad. Usually, there's different ways of doing it on the app. I think all I have to do is touch the screen. All I did was touch my grid there, and the keypad went away. If I wanted to bring the keypad back, I think on the internet version of it, in other words, the web browser one, there's probably a little minimize arrow. For me to bring it back, all I have to do is open up a new equation line there. You can see there's a number 2 with a flashing cursor in it, so I just clicked on that, and it brought it back for me automatically. So anyway, I can hide things. I can hide it that way. I can zoom in. Because again, I'm on my iPad, I can just use the 2-finger pinch or zoom in or out to see things. I can go in, obviously, I can keep going forever. I've already zoomed in to a significant amount. But if I want to just go back without having to finesse it, see that little house button in the top right? Just click that. It brings me back to the standard screen. I can get specific points on the line. If I touch, again, this is a touch screen, but you could do this just as much with your cursor. If I touch the y-intercept, you'll see a little dot appeared on the y-intercept. If I touch it again, it actually tells me the coordinates. You'll see another dot on the x-axis. That's my x-intercept. If I get the coordinates of that, it'll tell me that. I can actually get different points on the line. Again, I'm just touching the line and running my finger along the line right now, and it's giving me all these different coordinates. And again, you can do all of these kinds of things with your cursor just as easily. Top right, you'll see a monkey wrench, and so you can do some different adjustments there. If I click on projector mode, it just makes everything, my lines and everything, a little bit darker to be able to see in a projector. I can turn off and on the axes. I can turn on and off the grid lines. If I want to, on my X and Y axis, I can specifically specify what numbers. Right now it's going from -10 to +10 on the x-axis. I could say go from -21 to +21 just to randomly pick some numbers. And step, I could tell it I want it to go up by 3s. I can do whatever I want, right? So there's a lot of stuff I can play around with there. So it's really helpful. If I'm done with this one, then all I have to do is click that little X, go back. If you look at the equation, there's an X beside it. Click on that, and I can make this equation disappear. And again, I can just go back to my basic screen by clicking the home button. You notice I still have my scale there that I had put there from the step 3. If I want to get rid of that, I can just delete it. So there you have it. Okay, then you can play with these different ones, graph those in Desmos, confirm what we've just discovered. We can graph things by hand, but then we can confirm them using Desmos, so that's what part B is about. I'm going to leave that for you just to play around with a bit. But Desmos, really helpful tool. I definitely recommend getting the app if you have an iPad or a phone that you want to put it on, and then you can use it on the internet as well, like on a web browser.